Hi, it's Mark from the Digging Deep podcast. Just a quick one before we get started. Over the past few weeks, we've had more than 15,000 views and listens across the podcast, which is brilliant. So first of all, thank you. But what we are seeing is that a lot of people are watching and listening and not subscribing. So if you are enjoying the podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to subscribe, whether that's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. It makes a big difference and helps us keep growing, bringing in great guests and improving the show each week. Also, give us a follow on social to keep up with everything we've got going on. Right, let's get on with this week's episode.
Morning.
Yeah, how we doing, mate?
Yeah,
another day.
Right.
Well, another day, same day. We're doing two today, because we can see. Otherwise, people think, you've got the same tops on. They're wearing the same clothes a week. It's a bank holiday, and we've got nothing else to do because we're that sad that our other halves have thrown us to the wind and they've gone out and had a good time, and we're stuck indoors in this blistering day. I can't take the dogs out. It's too hot, unfair. So I thought we'd sit here and keep each other company.
That's what it is, yeah. We could have just talked on the phone, but we might as well record what we're saying anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is how we actually talk on the phone. We just ring up each other and speak absolute shite, don't we, about the industry, even when we're not recording. But today I thought, well, let's put you under a bit of pressure, Mark, Thought I'd really see if I could play one side and you play another. And we're both passionate about certain things in business. And I don't really sit on one side or the other, to be honest with you, but I thought it'd be a good laugh to have this decision, whereas you're the man who's always face to face, day to day out there trying to knock on doors. And I'm the person that normally takes care of all the branding and the marketing and the stuff like that. So I thought, do we need sales people anymore? Is there a job still there for the sales reps? What's happening out there? Are they changing? Has everyone got fed up with, not people like yourself, Mark, you hold down a job, but how many reps that you see that come in and go every 6 months they've moved to another job, especially in our industry. And I think it ruins the reputation and why people sometimes in ownership of businesses tend to go, well, I want to have a look at a different way. I'm fed up with taking on reps and people, and I don't see what the benefit is. And there is some companies out there, believe it, I've had a look, and you probably have as well, that don't have salespeople anymore, which is a bit of a shame because our industry is full of characters. So I'm not trying to finish anyone off. I'm just thought we'd have a bait to see how it's changed. So, that's what I thought we'd talk about. That who's willing to plant higher war, really? What's the best route to market? Is it a mixture of both? What have you seen that's changed? I think the industry has changed forever, personally. You probably would argue that relationships still win the business, which I'm not going to disagree with it at all. And hopefully everyone can turn around and say we've both got a point, and we're just rattling on a Monday afternoon. But look, our sales reps disappearing from plant and so on, and as LinkedIn replaced the depot visit, do customers still care about relationships, or do they just want the cheapest price online? Today, me and the stats man, Mr. Scutt, as we just said there, are going head to head because I think it's marketing replacing traditional sales in construction and hire. And you say you think relationships still run the hire industry. That's what you say.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, cool. I do, because I think that, look, in our industry, an order isn't necessarily always simple. Give me one drill bit or give me one ton dumper. There's a lot to discuss there that you can't put on an online form.
Well, is there? I don't know. Let's have a look at what sales used to look like then. Let's take people back. What was your daily routine, and what do you still do? What do you see?
Yeah, look,
old school hire sales structure. Go on.
the old school sales structure was you know, I remember it's happened to me. You're given a set of keys and told that's your car over there. There's your business cards. Go and get some work. And I think, you know, I learnt the hard way like that. I used to have to go out. You'd be visiting the sites. The great thing about those old school days were, of course, though, was the guy on site would place the orders. So if I saw the site manager or the site foreman, site supervisor, works manager, whatever, sometimes they'd say, "Oh, as you're here, mate, I'll have a 9-ton dumper." You know what I mean? Whereas now it's kind of like, "Oh yeah, you've got to speak to the procurement in somewhere." But look, I think relationships are really key. I think where it's probably gone wrong for salespeople in the past is they haven't been inducted properly. I think when you take a salesperson on, you got to tell them what your USPs are, the features and benefits, what you do, what you don't do. And then they've got the ammunition. If there's technical information, educate them on some of the technical information. Because to be honest with you, half of the battle is confidence. If I'm standing in front of somebody and I know what I'm selling, right? I know what the fleet is. I know what we got. I know what they do. Then I can say to you, Mark, you are in plant. I see you doing this on the field at the moment. Can I help you with some 20-tonners or 13-ton excavators? If I don't know, and I'm just one of those guys, and I know a company that actually don't help their guys, so they end up leaflet dropping. They turn up and go, "Hello, I work for so and so, and we hire these out. If you need anything, let us know. Thanks very much. Bye." Well, that's
Yeah, but do you think though then, you know, without being too controversial, that as an owner of a business, that sometimes you're fed up with the fact that relationships cost money and sometimes not for a lot of return? You know, I used to do a couple of corporate days for certain people, but it was worth 3 or 4 million worth of sales. But now, you know, I'll tell you my argument about some of that. I've been everywhere. You know, I've had boxes at Tottenham, West Ham, Man United, you name it. Do you know how hard it is to get people? So first of all, you're doing business. You think you've got to have this in line, and then all of a sudden, you invite that person 6 months in advance. Sometimes, fancy a Liverpool Man United game? Yeah, oh, fantastic. Oh, I've been a Man United fan all my life. And about a week beforehand, they go, "Yeah, my wife's told me I've got to do something else." You know, and you think, how much am I spending here to the value? Now, you're slightly different. I'm going over the top here because I'm talking about corporate entertainment compared to some of the stuff, I think, like the Lighthouse construction dinner and stuff, I think it's really important that you're there. I think if you're in the industry, you're there, you're talking to people, you get to talk to 10 or 15 people that you probably couldn't get round in 2 or 3 months because they're never available. But they seem to be available for that. So I don't know what I'm saying, but do you think maybe some of that has been, people have probably spent a lot and not delivered?
Yeah. Look, I'm a great believer, and I've had that exact example that you mentioned there. We used to have one of the guys you supported West Ham, and we used to have a table at the old West Ham ground when on the bowling, and we had that. I had avid West Ham fans that said, "I'll come to the game. Let me know if you got a spare seat," and I would fill the table up. And by Wednesday, I'd think I've done a great job. Table's full, right? Thursday, 2's dropped out. By Friday, 4's dropped out, and then you're embarrassed. Saturday morning, I'm ringing round trying to get people to come. That I'm now just filling spots rather than taking people because I should be taking them. So I changed my strategy some years ago that I'd like to spend good time with people. I do it on a 1-to-1. Because we've said in previous pods, it's all about relationships. I can understand more about you. You can understand more about me. We can really work together collaboratively. Now, that might be over a breakfast. That might be over a game of golf, right? But I'm not a fan of booking 10 seats at the rugby and trying to fill it because that's not 1-to-1. That's just a massive booze up as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. I mean, I think there's been a culture of that. But I remember being even years back, we used to have and I won't even mention a hire company. You'd be part of a B team, and that was basically one of your mates was running that box, and he'd say to me, "Mark, there's you, John, so-and-so, I'll put you on a B team this year, so are you up for that? And you'd be saying, yeah. So that meant literally on the Saturday morning, he might ring you and go, do you want to go to Spurs this weekend? Because like someone's let me down. Then you'd go, yeah, I'm in. And I thought that was just piss poor planning. And then I had my own box and I had to have the same thing. I used to have a B plan with people because the amount of people that used to let us down was just phenomenal. And to the point I thought it's not worth it. And it wasn't a case of it wasn't worth it for the value, I don't think. When you break it down, I think Spurs at the time was 50 grand for a box, excluding food and stuff like that. But when you work that out, you get 10, 12 people in that box. It works out quite cheap, every game of the season. So it's not against the clubs or the entertainment. It's against, I suppose, our industry. I suppose they expect it, but only on their terms, don't they? And the other thing, Mark, the younger generation coming in now, when you started, there was no social media, was there? You started off and you knocked on the door, and I would have sat down probably if I was your boss, and I would have said to you, my sales meeting with you would have been, right, Mark, write down your top 10 customers and their mobile phone numbers. And you would have had to do that, wouldn't you? And if you didn't know their mobile phone numbers, I knew that you hadn't gone and seen them, or they weren't your customers, were they? But now, if I said to you, what's your top 10 customers, and you tell me, but you wouldn't be able to write their numbers down because it's all computerised now. And then I go into the fact that younger people coming in, they don't even want to go to site visits. So are sales reps themselves killing their own role? People communicate differently now. Buyers use WhatsApp and email, and speed matters more than coffee meetings. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just, how you doing? Do you want anything? No, but I'm on to the next one. Maybe the business has changed where people are looking after too many accounts. I don't know, because perhaps they can. Procurement, I think, has changed everything. We're hopefully getting to that. And reps used to carry information. Now Google does. What do you reckon on that?
Well, look, I think the digital age is on us, and things are changing massively. I mean, look, AI. I used to think when the internet came out, I used to think, oh my God, because as a rep going out, I mean, I'm going back years now where before SatNav, I remember if I went to a different area because I had a new customer, I'd have to buy the fucking A to Z and think, shit, I've got to find my way around here now. And you'd have to keep pulling the car over to check the map, So, and I remember when the internet come out, I remember thinking how amazing that was, because I could go and see you, Mark. Let's say you was at your old place at Enfield. I could come and see you, and then I could go on this thing called the internet, and I could put construction companies Enfield, and I had half a chance of, I call them floor fillers, half a chance of putting some floor fillers in, so that I haven't just seen you. I haven't wasted my day. I've got some extra stuff up there as well I can visit, yeah. And then I remember thinking, what's next? Now we've got the internet. Now AI's come out. I don't even know. I don't even know if half of us even know how to use AI properly. I had a conversation with a customer the other week, and he said he was reading a book and it was that thick. And he said it's all about how you can put AI to work. So I think the majority of us use it to save time. Like, we might use it instead of Google, or we might say, I don't know, here's my RAMs. Can you put that into a RAM sheet for me? But actually, this guy was saying, you haven't got half a clue what AI can do. It's all about making it work for you, yeah. And in answer to your question as well, look, I think it is changing. Younger people do communicate differently, and I think that's a fact that we've probably got to get round. And it's frightening, really, because when you said that, it made me think, some of the people I deal with are, around my age and older. What happens when they retire? What am I going to be left in this abyss of having to use Gen Z alpha slang to communicate with people? Do you know what I mean?
Then what's your counter argument though to that?
What do you mean? What's my counter argument? I mean, look, there's always a place for the sales guys, because at the end of the day, most of the proper deals are done face to face because there's too much to negotiate. As we said in the previous pod, we were talking about payment terms, right? So if I want to speak to you, I need to understand the job. I need to understand the nature of the job, what you need, when you need it. Let's talk about the payment terms. Let's negotiate those as well. Let's talk about how we're going to cope with this or how we're going to deal with that. So it's not if we was a transactional business, like I want a pack of polos, yeah, you could do that online. You can do it with Amazon, right? But what we're doing isn't a transactional business, because you're going to say to me, I've got this site. You need to be Fours Gold. You can't go via this road. You have to come via the other road. Plus the fact there's a school nearby. So we can't deliver between 8 and 10 and then again between 2 and 4. So there's lots and
But
lots
isn't
of
that just
stuff.
data?
That needs to
Isn't
be
that
like
just
that.
data that I could provide? I could say to you like this: if you want to be on this job, this is the rules. This is what you got to do. These are the boxes you got to tick. Huh?
We need to get the rates right, because in order to tick those boxes, it might not pay on the standard rate. I might need more of a rate because I've got to start earlier for a start. I've got to start much earlier than we need to, so that you get the machine when you want it.
So you're not saying that when something goes wrong, nobody rings Google. They ring someone they trust. I mean, that's the line that you should have had there, Mark. You know what I mean?
It is
But
actually.
I'll take
Yeah,
that.
I was going into one, but look, at the end of the day, look, relationship, retention rates, repeat business value. You've got the cost of losing long-term customers, and I think human trust. This is a big thing. Looking at each other and doing a deal, shaking hands. Human trust still matters in construction. You know.
Yeah, but do you think though that we've taken that away with procurement? So do you think that procurement has killed that relationship? So, for example, yeah, it used to be at a bowl on site. You'd go on site, you'd go and see how he's the man. I remember, I'll tell you a story, right? I'm sure it won't matter that I'll mention his name, but there was a legend of the industry, worked for Balfour Beatty, called Jimmy Scutt. And I remember being really proud of myself because I'd just nicked it off some major players. And BCL at the time, right? BCL, if no one remembers BCL Plant and BCL Rail, we were before Flannery's and Lynch. Yeah, we were the motorways. We were doing the motorways. We were doing it. We had operated plant. And yeah, we were a private business though. We were a private, owned by Ardmore. And that's not all we did. So eventually we got out of plant because that Ardmore became more of a developer, didn't they? You know, be more of a major contractor. But in them early days, BCL was a player. And I remember going through I had to do something that you all have had to go through, and that's work through a big procurement presentation. This is how you got onto motorways. It was about health and safety, you know, no different than it is today, yeah? It was about what are you doing differently. And I think we stood out because we had that rail section of our business and we had that health and safety was locked in. So they were like, wow, where have you been? Why haven't you been working with us before? And we went through all this, and I went back, we got the letter, and this was my biggest lesson in life, I suppose, in plant hire. And we won the letter, and I kept on getting a phone call from one of the owners of the business saying, there's a load of machines on this fucking site, Mark, but I don't see any of ours, you know? I'm going, oh, well, I don't know what's going on there, I'll have to get popped down. And I remember bumping in to this guy standing outside the site office and smoking his fag, and I went, all right, mate, all right. He went, who are you? And I told him, I said, look, we're the key #1 preferred plant company on the site. And he looked at me, shook his head, and he goes, when will you guys learn? You don't get fuck all on these sites unless you come through me. And that's when you have to learn that, going back into that, what you're saying, you have to build that business relationship and that trust. And it weren't just because I'd ticked a form and done a presentation and stuff like that, and which you could do online now. It was that. But I'm saying, as that changed, so I get where you're coming from, you know. And has it changed because of procurement? Procurement, have they destroyed loyalty? Do you think? I know you've got to be careful here because you've all got to still work in the industry, but we're just having a friendly debate here. You know, you've got national buying agreements, spreadsheet buying, if you like. You know, lowest price culture. You know, well, he's doing it for £15 an hour. Can you do it for 14.5? low, multi-supplier portals where you've got to go in now. I don't know how infuriating it is. We've talked about this with accreditation, but it's not just about accreditations that you get multiple accreditations. You've got to sign up to someone else's portal every time you try and sell to them now. And customers wanting 5 quotes for this and 10 quotes for that. The buyers used to know your rep personally, didn't they? How it works behind a procurement portal. You didn't have to go through that.
No,
So,
I mean, look, good reps still beat procurement. You just got to look at some of the evidence. Look, relationships save jobs. Reps solve problems. You forget that. So not everything's straightforward on one of them on that day. There are problems.
yeah.
Urgency hires still rely on trust. Someone might ring up at 4 o'clock, promise me, Mark, you can get that to me tonight by 5, or whatever. And then, of course, as I was alluding to earlier, big projects still need human coordination. And the thing is, when we talk about price gets you in the conversation. Your relationship keeps you there.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. I mean, I remember having to do exactly that, and then eventually an old friend of ours who's retired now, he used to ring up eventually when the trust was there and never ask the price. Just say, "Oh, send one of them machines down." And he wasn't fussed about the price. He was more because the relationship had been there. But look, market in general and new systems. I'm just saying, like the modern marketing now. I don't know if you could have covered the bases that you would have covered you do today compared to what reps used to be. You've got your LinkedIn visibility. So if I'm a young rep now, I'm thinking, well, LinkedIn visibility gets my personal SEO up. My website's doing well. Oh, the motorbike going past there. Sorry about this. We've got the so hot. We've got all the sitting outside kind of thing. You've got YouTube. You've got podcasts talking shite like we are. Online branding, digital trust, content marketing, Google reviews. We used to be, oh yeah, I'd use Emma O'Brien's or I'd use Lynch because and you'd recommend that to your mate, wouldn't you? And then your mate, if you was in procurement, go, oh yeah, I'll give him a go. You've got email campaigns coming through all the time. Customers know your fleet, reviews, prices and reputation before speaking to anyone nowadays, don't they? Your website is now your best sales rep, is it not?
Well, look, at the end of the day, this is the thing. You've got to remember that marketing and sales should work harmoniously together. You've got marketing creates the leads, the sales closes the deals, yeah? Visibility isn't loyalty, just because you can see them or they can see you. And followers, this is the thing when you're talking about the online stuff, followers don't equal customers. Construction buyers still want confidence, and a LinkedIn post has never solved a machine breakdown at 6 a.m, has it?
I'd get you, but maybe if the breakdown companies were on LinkedIn, we might get there by 1:45. Don't know.
He's relying on someone to tag him in at quarter to 3.
No.
This is for you.
It's a good argument, but then you got what's opening at the moment, which is the online ordering. I feel that sometimes, yeah. I mean, I think the hardest thing for you, the rep now, is, yeah, if you've won part one of that argument to say that, look, I've gone in there and I've had to set the deal up, and I've got it over the line. I've closed it, like you're saying. Marketing gave me the lead. I've gone in and closed it. It's about keeping that relationship. And I don't know if the procurement people haven't changed to a point they don't even want to talk to you. It's all by email, isn't it? Ordering online, or have you got an online portal? I just want to place a fucking order, mate, and get out. And I was a bit like that with procurement, because sometimes you're under pressure and you don't really want to talk to people. Procurement people aren't always the friendlier of characters. If they were, they'd probably be salespeople, wouldn't they? And so I was always a bit like that, and can I order it online? So, I mean, you can definitely get tools online now. You can have bookings in advance. There's companies out there trying to show you that you can just press a button and put it in your basket and you've got a 20-ton excavator turning up. Other people would argue about that. You've got price transparency. I ain't got to argue with you every day. There's the price. We know what it is. All my accounts are online. It's all there. Self-service hire, we want to call it, don't we? AI quoting nowadays. You ring up or you go on a chat box and say, "Can I have a 20-ton excavator?" And no doubt one of the hire companies will come and go, "Yeah, that's £700 a week, £800 a week." And you've got real digital customer journeys. You know, people are spending 30 seconds at time watching a video, for Christ's sake. Some customers would rather click a button than answer a sales rep's call. Don't you think that?
I mean, look, like I alluded to before, I think plant hire is quite complex. I mean, you know, and this is why the personal touch needs to be there with the trust, because you got things such as lifting plans. We might need to talk about where the eyes are and can I lift it? What does it weigh? Can you send me the spec? Specialist equipment, same sort of thing. I need to talk about how that works. You know, how we can get it delivered. How you're going to get it to site, off-site, logistics, technical advice, project coordination, last minute change. That's the other thing, last minute changes. You know yourself, we've all done it. You've placed an order for plant and then somebody on site says, yeah, what it is, the people on the floor, they're running 2 days late. Can we put all the gear, can we knock it on a bit? Well, I don't know how you're going to AI chatbot that one. So you're going to ring me and I'm just going to move it forward, move it back for you.
Yeah, but do you get technical advice on the end of the phone for setting up your YouTube channel and stuff like that? You've got to watch the bloody video, haven't you? Surely you can get technical advice from watching the video, no?
I think, but what you're not getting is you're not getting the specific individual use. If you ring me up for technical advice, I'm going to say to you, if you watch a YouTube video, that's a guy who's done a generic YouTube video, but you might be using this machine in a basement or on a roof. You might be using it in a hot area or a cold store. Tesco, you might be using it in a Tesco cold store. So you're going to say to me, how do I do this? How do I do that? I might even site visit. That's the biggest thing, isn't it? If I site visit, I can really help you out because I can see the ingress. I can see what you're doing, how you're doing it. I can help you right out. And that's the thing. Logistics is a big thing. You can't run a 20 million project like you're ordering socks off Amazon.
And I get you. But didn't Amazon think that? Didn't everyone think that before Amazon? You can't order fucking socks. Your mum would have said, you can't bloody order socks online, mate. You know what I mean? You have to go and feed them and touch them, see what the quality's like. Or even better, what about fruit and veg? Oh, no, I won't buy that. How can I order online with fruit and veg? It's going to go off and I don't know if I'm getting the best. But you've ordered from Tesco's, haven't you? And they've delivered and you've been happy with it. All right, they might have exchanged your, the like-for-like exchange on a bunch of green grapes for a microwave oven, which has got nothing to do with what you've ordered. But you're taking a chance, aren't you? People are buying plant online, no?
No, because you're forgetting one major common denominator in the residential side of things, Amazon. We've all got a front door. So the delivery, the expectation is that whatever you order off Amazon is going to be delivered to your front door. Now, site, nah, because you got to go through security, but not gate A or B or C or D, gate F. Yeah. And when you get through gate F, you got to turn left, go round the reactor, be escorted, by the way. And then we're not delivering plant to a front door. We're delivering it to sometimes high secure places.
Yeah, but can't that be set up at the beginning? I mean, you know, for example, that you were trying to get into the Olympics with that holding area. You had to book in through the portal. You know, you knew the routine.
Yeah, but
you had to do it by certain.
You're then asking smaller contractors to have a holding area.
Yeah, but smaller contractors, you know, are probably better set up to have easier access to site or easy. I mean, that's not an argument because I don't think you're saying that every site has to have a holding area. It doesn't.
No.
You can. No. There is sites where there's one delivery point.
It's the big sites.
Come to the site. Yeah.
I think it's way too complicated. If you order a machine, right, we're talking about whereabouts is it? So I need to make sure it complies with the NRMM for London and that, yeah. Then you've got it's being delivered in London, so we need to make sure that you're using someone that's Forest Gold. They've done the safe urban driving thing, yeah, which we've all got. Yeah. Then you've got you got to be here at that time. Then you've got to ring this. You've got to ring the site contact. He's going to escort you around the back. You're going to be unloaded by the tower crane, blah, blah, blah. Then and this is the other thing, this is where it throws a spanner in the works. What about if you're collecting something on the same site as well? So because you spoke to a human being, your delivery charge, you've got no collection charge on the thing I'm collecting. Whereas if you've done that online, you get delivery.
But then you're saying that you aren't a salesperson. You're just a hire controller.
I'm talking about humans coordinating. We're coordinating the hire.
Yeah, I'm talking about sales reps here. I'm not talking about people dealing with operations. I'm talking about people face-to-face interaction. Is it dying? My argument, or my side of the debate that I've been given, is, are sales reps dying? The industry seems to be reducing external reps already, in my opinion. Centralised sales, internal accounts managers, CRM systems, which is fine. I mean, it means everyone can see what someone's doing. Automated quoting now, marketing funnels that are just automated, measurable return on investment on what you're getting. Some companies now generate more leads from LinkedIn than they do external reps. That's not me said that. That was an actual article on LinkedIn. The modern salesperson might actually be maybe be the marketing department. I don't know.
But this is the thing. You're thinking on averages. You're thinking about average things. So let's look at it. And I know some really good people. Look, great reps still massively outperform average reps. Big customers still buy from people. Right?
Yeah,
relationships create resilience. Yeah. Human trust matters during problems like what we've discussed, and experienced reps will understand the operations as well. It's like, you don't build a 20-year customer loyalty through a Facebook advert.
You're going back to your socks argument at Amazon, aren't you? Really? No, you don't. You don't build that with loyalty. You're absolutely right. But unfortunately, with loyalty, as it comes to an end, because either too many, as an owner of a business, too many sales reps decide the grass is greener, so you've lost that loyalty yourself, and you've got a new person coming in who hasn't got that. So maybe you need that Facebook advert to make sure that these people still know you're trading, because someone's fucked off to another company.
That reminds me of your old joke. That does. He left because he thought the grass was greener on the other side and found out it was AstroTurf.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a fact, though, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Too many. But I like your line. Great reps outperform average ones. I mean, I do believe that. Yeah, I think there's always a place for somebody that moves metal, as they say. And maybe that's what's probably hindered in some respect. And I think agencies have got a lot to do with that. They kind of regurgitate. I mean, some of the CVs I get through for salespeople, and he's got, or if you looked at LinkedIn now, I mean, if you look at LinkedIn and some of these people, and they've got another advert up, oh yeah, moving on, and everyone's going, congratulations, well fucking done, so-and-so. And I'm thinking there, I'm going, you've had fucking 6 jobs in 7 years, you twat, in the same industry. And why is everyone saying, not one person's turned around and gone, are you moving again, mate? Don't you think you should think about a different job? Maybe going to catering or something, because plant hire ain't yours. You've had 6 jobs in 7 years. And I'll get the same CV from the person. He says, I grew sales by 30%. Well, why aren't you a fucking MD then, mate? There's so many rubbish ones out there that I think that they get regurgitated. And and if anyone's listening and you've been jumping around in jobs in sales for every 6 months to a year, and you've had like 7 or 8 jobs in 7 or 8 years, then sales ain't for you, mate. Or not in that industry, in my opinion, don't you think?
Yeah. Look,
and that's why I get fed up, and I think to myself, well, hold on, let's get onto this social media AI of the future. I'm thinking, well, what's the future? I ain't got to deal with the same people. And do you know what it's like? Do you know, I think what done it for me, Mark, as well. And one time, a guy that has moved around more times than I got, and in the last whatever, and I actually thought I'd give him a chance on one of these firms, and he turned me down. He went to someone else. He had the front to turn me down. I was stupid enough to give him a job. He turned me down, went to someone else, and lasted 6 months. I'm thinking, what am I?
Crazy. I know what you're talking about.
Do you know what I mean? And then they still got a front to come back to you a couple of years later or a year later. Is anything going? Do you know anything? Yeah, look, Tesco's are hiring, mate. Yeah, go and do that, because sales ain't your thing. And then I think to myself, well, look, hold on. Future, what's the future? If I'm going to get stressed like that, what's the future? You know, AI written quotes. You come in, you're talking to a bot. How much is for a 20-tonner? Asking me. And it comes back. I ain't even noticed. It's come back to me. You know, straight away, as soon as they make an order, then maybe I'll pass it to a human. You know, AI customer service is here if you like it or not. Sometimes you don't even know who you're talking to. And that's a fact. Yeah, you do not know. You've got predictive ordering. You know, if you sit down on a major project, you know, if you work it out correctly, that guy wants X amount by X amount of time. Now, it can go wrong, and that's where you need your human interaction. I agree with you. But I don't know if that's selling or just supporting. You've got your automated marketing now. You don't even have to, you set it up and it just goes out. You know, it's just, the biggest thing though is your digital profiling. You can get in to like a Lusher, Apollo or something like that, and you can go, right, give me all the people that work for Balfour Beatty's, their emails and their phone numbers, and it gives it to you. Now that might help somebody like you, absolutely, because if you don't want to get into that, you know what to do with that. It's valuable information. But it also makes the salespeople out there a little bit lazy. It also makes me think, well, do I need them? What kind? Maybe what it is what kind of salesperson do I want? There's always a place for somebody like you, Mark, isn't there? Because you're experienced, you know the industry and all that. But if I'm going to take someone fresh, this is what we were talking about before, wasn't it? Young people. If I'm going to encourage young people into the industry, what does that look like for me? Because do I take a chance? If you walk through my door, I don't have to take a chance because I know that you've got X amount of customers. That's what you're talking about. But a new person coming in, I'm thinking, hold on a minute. I can use a chatbot to do this. Well, not a chatbot, an AI agent to start bringing the leads. And then really, do I just need one of you where I would have traditionally had a Mark Scutt and 5 or 6 other reps coming underneath you? Maybe I just need a Mark Scutt. Do you know what I mean? So will AI replace sales coordinators before it replaces reps? I don't know.
No, look, at the end of the day, I think I'm a great believer in technology supports sales, yeah, but it won't replace humans entirely. I mean, look, like we've said a few times over, construction is massively about trust, yeah, because there's a lot of things that change in a project, and you need to trust that it's going to get there when you need it, or that you'll get the call to say something might have changed. Projects are unpredictable. This is the thing. So you've got to be humanising what we're, you know what I mean? Human judgment matters as well, yeah. And the thing is, as you've just said, like with my experience cannot be automated. It's like, you know, when we talk about AI might book the machine, but humans solve the disaster.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll give you that one, maybe. I mean, I've got my... by the end of this, I'll sum up where I think I am, you know. But, you know, look, let's have a final position on this. You know, I think the industry is permanently changed. And I'm not saying that there isn't place for you as a not as a person, but as a generational experience. What you're saying there, that is it's the most important to have. But when you're not here, is the industry going in that same way? We've just said this, innit? When the operators aren't there anymore because there's no young people coming through. When the builders and the carpenters and the bricklayers aren't there, you know, and what happens to the industry now? And I think that's permanently changed because I don't think the younger generation have been grounded in the same way that you and I was. Younger buyers behave differently. We know that. If you sit down a bloke from university, from college, procurement, you put him in there as a junior buyer, the first thing he does is go on Google, isn't it? Or ChatGPT. Whereas the first thing I would have done in the old days was ring a mate, or my dad, or the old building design centre, if everyone used to know where it was, in Good Street. And used to ring them up. It was an 0800 number. And you'd ring them up and you'd say, oh, I remember this. I was looking for a ride-on power float. And I was new to this type of equipment. I'd never heard of a ride-on power float. I knew what a power float was. I'd never seen one in my life, really, a ride-on power float. And Funny enough, the company that used to sell them was called Oswald Records. And I had Oswald Records right next to my yard in Brimstown. So I phoned up my dad. Dad, I'm in the bit of the shit. Because I'd been left in the office and the guy had gone away on holiday and didn't come back. So now I was the head of procurement in tools and stuff like that overnight. And I rang him up. I said, you know where I could find one of them? He goes, look, I'll be honest with you, boy, I don't know what you're fucking talking about. Right, but because he was a builder, but this was new technology. He said, ring the build centre in Goode Street. It's an 0800 number or whatever. I think it was probably an 0850. It was a premium rate number probably. And so I rang the guy up and I said, Lee, I want a ride on power swing. He goes, I'll just go off and find it in my library. And he's probably sitting there and I can hear him walk off. He's probably got a couple of coconut things going click, 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 click. You know what I mean? He's thinking, I'll keep this twat on the phone for 5 minutes. So it's like $1.50 a minute, do you know what I mean? He comes back and he gives me a company that's, I think, was in Birmingham. So I ring this company and they went, oh no, you want this company. Send me over to a company in Manchester, down to Cambridge. Eventually, about 4 or 5 phone calls later, it landed straight back to, he goes, yeah, what you want here is Oswald Records. I was thinking, what the fucking company next door? But the internet weren't available really in them days, you know what I mean? You just had to make them phone calls. So, but a new person coming in, they're not got to go through that problem. They're not grounded in having to resolve a problem. They just go in, they'll Google what they need to do or chat GPT it. You know, the digital presence now massively matters in the industry. You know, marketing drives the trust now. I've said this again and again, yeah? We proved this with the children that are in schools that weren't coming into our industry. Why? Was when they said, what industry do you want to work with? Construction, or when they said, sorry, and they couldn't answer that question. They all had to answer it in that way. I spoke about this 3 or 4 times. It was about what company they wanted to work for. So they didn't really care what job they were doing, but they wanted to work with these companies. And that's where we came 97th and 99th, was Balfour Beatty. So it was down to their marketing. Whereas McDonald's was 36 because their marketing was better. So you can't ignore the online visibility, you know, and you're not going to get that as much, even though LinkedIn is trying to build you up as your own little website. But you try and search plant hire rep. It's hard to find one come up on LinkedIn, don't you think? So if your business can't be found online, then eventually it won't be found at all, no?
Look, at the end of technology does matter. You know, we know that technology matters, but relationships still win. You know, when you think about it, the companies that survive won't be the most digital. They'll be the ones customers trust when things go wrong, and that's a really important thing.
Okay, well, I'll close and then I'll give you my thoughts. You know, closing questions, I suppose, to those out there listening. You know, do sales reps still matter? Is marketing replacing sales? Are online systems the future? Has procurement ruined loyalty? I mean, that's a big one there. Would you rather speak to a rep or order online? I think they're the questions we can't answer. But what I do think is that you're absolutely right, Mark. Just to put my real stance on it, I was playing the devil's advocate there today. You know, I do believe that relationships can't be replaced. But I do feel that we've got the last of that generational pool. I do feel that when I look at yourself, people like Tony Wootton have just retired out of the industry. You know, people that knew their customers, knew what they wanted, without even thinking about it. That traditional black cab taxi driver that could take you anywhere in London without using a fucking sat-nav and knew the shortcuts and the routes and everything else like. That's the same people that we're talking about in the hire industry. And I don't know how that's going to be replaced, and I don't know if you should even try and replace it, perhaps, and maybe accept the facts that the younger people coming through are slightly different, and maybe we need to make their route slightly different. I don't know, and it's not just the sales rep. That's what gets me. I think it's the procurement. I think procurement in this country has dampened that relationship and that loyalty. Now, I know why, because there was a lot of corruption as well way back. A lot of people got backhanders and bits and pieces. And I remember being part of that organisation coming into that time of the industry where they were really jumping at that. And one of my remits was, look, we've got to take the responsibility of ordering away from site. That was my first remit when I went into procurement. You've got to set up a system where our sites will ring you and you will do the ordering. And we will be able to, in other words, the owners of the business will be able to manage who you're dealing with, because they'll see who you're dealing with, rather than there's 50 different companies that the company are dealing with just to buy their tools because Bert's getting a season ticket off that company, or he's getting a breakfast every Tuesday morning. So, I mean, that's my thoughts, but I do feel it's been a good debate, because I feel that technology has changed and for the horizon, I think it's going to change forever. I think a lot of people are looking at it. I think because there's not a lot of quality people left, Mark. That's my final say on it. So I don't know if you feel you've won the debate or lost it. I don't know.
Look, I think there's pros and cons to both. I'm gonna say I think I've won it, because maybe we could be fair and say I've won it for today, but tomorrow, with the way technology is going and everything, maybe I haven't won it for tomorrow. And that's the biggest thing. None of us can see where this is going to go. I mean, you look at trades that have gone. My dad was a tailor, yeah, and then it's all mechanised now, isn't it? Yeah. So unless you're willing to spend $5,000 on a suit, that's the only time that a tailor's making your suit now. But years ago in London, Savile Row, everyone used to go and have a suit made by a tailor, but it's mechanised. So that, I think every industry is being changed by, and I think the pace is speeding up as well, isn't it? You look at the Industrial Revolution in history, and income the steam, and then diesel, and then and now because of AI and the computers, I think the pace of change is so massive that years ago you could estimate it. You could say, like you look at the diesel trains replaced by electric now, but you could have said, when the diesel trains first come out, you could have said in 100 years there'll be electric. The trouble we've got now with the pace of change is you'd say in 20 years there'll be electric. Now, and when we refer to people in our industry, procurement, sales reps, who knows where that's going to be even in 10 years. I've seen the game change massively. Like I say, I've been 32 years I've been in the construction industry, and it's nowhere the same. Nothing I do today was the same I did all them years ago.
Yeah, and I think that you definitely have. I think there's definitely a place. I do generally believe that. I do think that, but I do worry for the future, and I think mainly because you haven't got time now to mentor people and bring them through. I remember taking on young salespeople from school and stuff like that who wanted to be in sales, and putting them with somebody like you, Mark, for 3 to 6 months. You don't afford that people like you that opportunity anymore to say, look, can you look after this person? And therefore you don't take a chance on the new person coming through. I'm not saying there's not going to be exceptions to the rules. Of course there is. Smaller companies, but I would say that somebody like a national hire company won't have the volume of salespeople that they had 20 years ago, even if they're the same size, if not bigger, because I feel that they're going to be looking at different technologies to replace that. And it will be people like yourself that are managing that process and getting through that. It's a shame, really, because I think some of our closest friends have been built by what we've been speaking on your side. And yeah, can you have friendships in business? I think you have, because relationship is still the key driver, I think, in any business. As you said, rightly so. So yeah, I think you won the debate, but I just thought I'd bring it up, and I thought it would be a great thing to talk about, especially for the future, as AI is on the end of everyone's lips, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and who knows where that's going to migrate to? And I'm going to ask the question again that I did when the internet come out. Now we've got AI. What's next?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Some people are for it. Some people say it's the end of the world. God, I remember the millennium bug was going to be the end of the world, wasn't it? You know, planes were going to fall out of the fucking sky. I think if we use it sensibly, it'd be great. But, you know, look, but talking about digital, you know, and all that, and that Pratt on the motorbike just gone past me there. You know, for some reason, I've set out here and there's one bit of the road that they can open up on. In the back, believe it or not, there's a load of trees over there and you can't see that road. And there's a road behind and they just think I can open it up here, no one's about. And that's probably because the police is fucking turned into AI now and as well, isn't it? They're not about. There's no police on the fucking road to catch anyone or have a chat with them. But yeah, so look, but if you're talking about digital in the future, you know, you got to subscribe, Mark, you know, press the button.
That's it, like and subscribe.
Spotify, Unify, that little bell on Spotify, press it. Say, yeah, listen up. Get involved in the conversation.
Yep, send us an email on the website, diggingdeep.co.uk, or place your comments on your whatever you're watching or listening to us on.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, Mark.
Well,
I'll catch you next week.
Take care, mate. Bye-bye.
Cheers, bye.
The opinions expressed within this podcast are solely the individuals and do not reflect the opinions and beliefs of the sponsors or its affiliates.